Not all growth is visible. Sometimes the strongest things that we build are the things that no one ever sees. It's in the quiet choices that we make. It's in those unseen hours that we put in, or those moments where it would have been so much easier just to throw in the towel. But there was something inside that said, stay with it. It's that fire that burns in your belly. It's that wave that crashes again and again against the shore until it carves a new way forward. Capricorn energy honors this type of growth. It honors the long game, the slow climb. It's those sacred inner moments, that inner work that we do that doesn't require any applause, because it's within those missed milestones, that delayed gratification, where we find that discipline to hold on to a vision, even if there's no proof yet. So we just had a new moon in Cancer back on June 25th. And that new moon reminded us that that ache that we feel for more depth, more belonging, more self, that's part of the arrival. And so now that we're at the full moon in Capricorn, this is a time to pause and look back over the last 6 months. So, what have you been quietly building since the start of this year? What dream have you been tending to, even if no one has noticed? Capricorn teaches us about legacy, that legacy isn't built overnight, that it's in the holy moments of commitment, the ones that no one claps for, but they're the ones that you know matter because you feel them in your soul. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Bell Astrology Podcast. I'm your host and astrologer, Ashley, and today we are talking about the full moon in Capricorn that is happening on July 10th. And this one is happening at 18 degrees of Capricorn, and it will be full on the 10th at 3:37 p.m. here in Central Time. Now, this one is known as the buck moon, and it's named that because this is the time of year when deer begin to grow their antlers. But it's also known as the thunder moon. It's known as the thunder moon because it's a nod to the storms that roll through July. And here in northern Minnesota, we have definitely been feeling this. So both of these names, the buck moon or buck and thunder, they are incredibly symbolic for this full moon. Buck energy is quiet. It is about steady growth, where thunder reminds us that sometimes truth comes with a rumble. And so this full moon in Capricorn, it's a little bit like that. Now, a full moon is when we have the sun and the moon standing opposite each other in the sky, and they're illuminating a full story. And a full moon is a time of culmination, a time of reflection, of emotional awareness, because the moon rules our emotional body. And this is the peak of the lunar cycle, where we get to see what's working and what's not working. So right now we have the sun in Cancer, which is the sign of emotional safety, of our roots, of care, of nurturing, while it's sitting across from the moon in the sign of Capricorn, which is the sign of structure and discipline and safety and success. Not safety, responsibility and success. So these are what we call sister signs. They are opposite by design. So Cancer says, what do you need to feel safe? Capricorn answers, what are you building to sustain it? And so the feeling of this full moon, it's not flashy, it's not dramatic. So usually a full moon represents this big emotional release, this culmination of energy, this outward expression of energy. But this one feels more like an inside job, more tender, wiser, but really deep, clarifying. And so this one is bringing us back to the new moon in Capricorn, which happened on December 30th of 2024. Think back to the intentions that you were setting back then on that night. Probably something around New Year's Eve or New Year's resolutions, I imagine, because this was the moment where we set intentions in Capricorn. We're talking about long-term goals and self-discipline and our vision for the future. And so now we are halfway through the calendar year. It's a checkpoint to pause and ask, what mountains have I been climbing since December? And how does my view look now that I'm here? Am I climbing with intention, or am I just climbing out of habit? And do I need to reroute for the rest of the year? This is your mid-year checkpoint. Basically, it's not for judgment. I don't want it to sound like that, but think of it as a moment for clarity. Maybe you feel called out. Maybe you feel like celebrating. This one, for me, when I go back and I think about the essence of Capricorn, Capricorn doesn't care how fast that you're going. It just wants to know that your direction is true. And so that new moon, where we planted those intentions back in December, that was the final new moon of 2024. And it was right before New Year's Eve. So it was this symbolic endings and beginnings moment. And for me, I was holding space for my very first solo new moon sound bath here at Notice Wellness. And it was an intention setting ceremony. It was perfect because it was the night before New Year's Eve. Everyone had this opportunity to prepare those New Year's resolutions so that they didn't get caught off guard under that mirror ball drop at midnight. And that aligned so powerfully with the energy that was happening in that moment. Now, because I'm an astrologer, my year doesn't actually start until the spring with Aries season in March, because in January, Mother Nature is still resting. But it does, I do recognize the power of intention setting under the Capricorn new moon. And that night, while I was holding space for others, it was also this really powerful portal for me. And I think back over these last 6 months, because that was lighting up my first house, which is the house of self, the house of becoming. It's the house of taking the lead in your own story. And so I don't set resolutions at New Year's, but I do choose a word to embody for the year. And so this year, my word was wildfire, or is wildfire. And I won't tell you exactly what that means to me, not just yet anyway, but I will say this: wildfire is the permission to let those untamed parts of me rise, to step out of the shadows and into the heat, to burn through old narratives and old definitions, to be seen, to be felt, to be known, even if that makes people uncomfortable. Well, especially if that makes people uncomfortable. And so, because I know my dreams are not meant to stay small, it wasn't just about setting intentions, it was about lighting a match. And so I had to ask myself, who am I going to become in 2025? And for me, that's very Capricorn energy of, what does self-discipline look like? How do I want to lead my life on my own terms? It's this moment of declaration to take charge of my own personal goals, that I'm the sacred architect of my life. I get to redefine who I am in the world. And since then, so many things have unfolded, because this is the sacred climb. Capricorn energy in motion. It's the long game. It's that steady build. It's the slow burn for all my book girlies. It's how we intentionally pursue a dream that has real meaning for us. And now that we're under the full moon, I have this chance, and everybody should, think about how far you've come. Not just what you've accomplished, but who you've become. It's this vision that you have, it's yours. And it matters so deeply. And you get to define what success looks like, to really nurture that embodiment of that identity. And that's the essence of Capricorn, turning an inner vision into an outer form, brick by brick. It's not always sexy, but it's step by step and it works. And so that's the essence of Capricorn. And I don't want to talk about Capricorn in kind of that pop astrology version where it's all business suits and workaholism. I want to talk about it from the sacred architect of life perspective, the one who plays the long game, the one who values depth over performance, and who knows that transformation takes time and it takes truth. Capricorn is not just the CEO archetype, it's the soul builder, the one who honors reality, not fantasy, and who keeps showing up even if no one claps. It's not just, when I say just, about status, it's about substance. Capricorn teaches us that authority, it doesn't come from that which we can control. It comes from integrity, from inner alignment. And it's doing the things that you said you were going to do, even if no one's watching. And so this is the archetype that reminds us that we are always building from our habits and our stories, our relationships, our future, that everything that we construct is either aligned with our truth or we're building it to impress someone else. And so I have a few questions for you to sit with under this full moon. What are you building that truly reflects who you are? Have you been climbing a mountain just to prove something? Have you outsourced your authority or taken on roles that you were never meant to carry? This full moon is this moment to reconnect. And I'm not talking about reconnecting to your sexy 5-year plan. You can save that for pillow talk. I'm looking at you, Capricorn moons. But to recommit to that most meaningful direction, the one that is aligned in your soul. And so as Capricorn is the keeper of time, Cancer is the keeper of emotions. Together, they are teaching us about building a meaningful life that's not just about grinding harder, that it's about devoting to ourselves, devoting to what matters most to us consistently, carefully. And so it's a reminder under this full moon that you are the sacred architect of your life, that you get to decide the pace. You get to decide what success means to you, and you're allowed to keep evolving the dream. Now, to truly work with this moon, I invite you to look at your birth chart and look at which house holds 18 degrees of Capricorn, because this is the area of your life where something is culminating. It is closing. It's asking for your authority. And it's where the sacred architect in you is ready for restructuring, recommitting, maybe even letting go, as full moons are a culmination, a time for release. What relationships have you outgrown? Or what past versions of yourself no longer fit that future vision? Or what no longer just fits that future that you're building? If you want to know more about how this full moon is showing up in your own personal story, you can always book a one-on-one session with me, either online or in person. All you have to do is go to ashleybelastrology.com. I am wishing you all the most empowering and purposeful full moon. From my heart to yours, bye for now.